Tamayan wat siya kape alo. Le ho umay alo to chawaki. Yot nakshi Brian. Ho umay alo to chawaki. You Brian for a long time now, and he always borrowed my voice. So again, he borrowed my voice. I came all the way over here. It's good to see him again. You know, he's always, he asks me good questions all the time. It's good to have people ask questions. And as I'm telling these stories, if something comes to your mind, if you want to clarify it, want to know more, just raise your hand. Don't be afraid to use your voice. If you use your voice, you go a long ways. That's what I did. When I first went to Red Cloud Indian School, I had a friend, his name was Brian Brewer. And he was our tribal president here about 3 presidents back. And I called him and I said, congratulations. He was our tribal president. When I went to Red Cloud, I went around with him because he spoke mostly English. And he was a Ieska. He was a white speaker or English speaker. That's Ieska, talking mostly white. And I was really quiet. And then later on in life, he said, I always wonder why Jerome was so quiet. And I found out it's because he didn't know how to speak English. I only spoke Lakota. He helped me out. When I make a mistake speaking English, he would say, no, you say it like this. So he was really helpful. He always remembers that about me. He said, Joe was really quiet. I found out he didn't know how to speak English. That's how come. But it was a good time for me, you know, meeting. I didn't know anybody when I went to Red Cloud Indian School. It was a boarding school, and I started to find out who my relatives were. Right there, you're supposed to be my cousin. Somebody would say, "Oh, nice to meet you." You know, I don't know a lot of people because I'm an orphan. And when my grandmother and grandfather died, we lived in Kyle, South Dakota, on a reservation. But when they died, I ended up at Gordon, Nebraska. And so in South Gordon, only Lakota is spoken. South Gordon, Nebraska. It's a farm town. And the Lakota went down there to work on farms, building fences, taking care of cattle, and all the ranch stuff, horses, branding, feeding the cow, making bales, hauling bales, stacking bales. So I started to grow up that way there. And my parents spoke only Lakota, and adopted parents. They raised me over there. And I started to learn about the English speaking people. When I went down there, I was probably about 4 years old. And me and Grandma went down because Grandpa passed away. So me and Grandma stayed in Gordon, way out on the ranch. And the people who were supposed to raise me, they worked there. And one night, way late at night, my mom, adopted mom, she woke me up. That time they called me Jelly because my grandma speaks only Lakota. And we don't have any R's in Lakota. So she can't say Jerry. And so she called me Jelly. so everybody called me Jelly. They probably thought that was my name. Well, my grandma's the only one that calls me that. No R's in our language. So it's Jelly. and our dog, he was there before I was adopted to that family. His name was Jerry too. So there's 2 Jellies, me and the dog. I think Grandma, it helped her because when it's supper time, She said, Jelly! Me and the dog be running back because we have the same name. So I kind of knew about animal equality with humans as a little boy. I thought I was equal with this guy. Jelly. And I'm still that way. I have 5 dogs, 8 birds, about 10 cats. And some of them that don't have any homes, we keep them in the breezeway and then we bring them in and feed them. You know, because I was an orphan. I know how it is not to have something. You know, I remember I was walking on the street and this couple was supposed to be raising me. They were arguing about something. I don't know what. And they split up, and one is in one bar and one's in the other bar. And I can't go in bars. So I'm in the streets. Finally, I found my friends from South Gordon who speak Lakota. We played all over the place, to the fairgrounds, and we knew all the tunnels underneath the city. We explored all over. And I can't find my mom or my dad. I don't know where they went. So I lived underneath a willow tree, weeping willow. It comes down like that and leaves all the way around like that. Inside feels like a hut. So that's where I stayed. And across the fence, this is a city park. Across the fence is Bobby Redoff. He lives there, so he said, you won't talk to come on, we're gonna eat supper, you come and eat. So that's where I go to eat. But he said, Okuta mattress from Bulha. In the basement, there's a mattress. So he's a great big old, he's carrying that. We put it underneath that tree and blanket. I had blankets there, he brought blankets. And that's where me and him stayed. Pretty soon, Lou stayed with us too, and Don Roy. So there's 4 of us that live underneath that tree. They wanted to hang out with me. I don't know why. They always like to be around me. Because I invented things and I like to do things, you know, and so they really follow me around like my friends. And, well, I didn't have any toys. I had to make up toys. So that's why they're probably really interested in what I'm going to do next, you know. So it was a fun way to be growing up. And I started to, then my grandma and grandpa, my real mom and dad, after these people took me back to Porcupine, then I had to go to school at Red Cloud Indian School because this grandma and grandpa couldn't take care of me. Probably they were too poor. And so I went to Red Cloud Indian School and found out relatives. Found out some pretty good people. Matt and Nellie Two Bulls. They have a cassette out. They died a long time ago. But they were the drum group, Sons of the Oglalas. It's still going. The Sons of the Oglalas, still a drum group. And now Fred Stan's the lead singer of that. He takes care of that drum. So I started to find out who my relatives were and found out a lot of things. I found out my great-great-grandfather was a chief. His name was Old Man Afraid of His Horses. And his son was Young Man Afraid of His Horses. And they're in the history books. You know, 1868 treaty, there's a picture of a man sitting like this with just his hair hanging down. He's sitting like this. All those generals and statesmen with tall hats, all the chiefs with bonnets. You know, it's a treaty council. And he's sitting there in the front all by himself, nothing on, just buckskin and long hair. Why didn't he have if he's a chief, how come he doesn't have a uniform? Then I found out he was a peace chief. Peace. He's from the ancient world of the real Lakota, where we only knew about peace and well-being on this earth. Share with everything, even the animals. and even helping things to grow. We never chopped a tree down unless we're going to use it. So we did chanyuchuga, meaning we got a stick, they put a rope on it, throw it up, wrap it around a dry limb, pull it down, and it cracks and falls to the ground. They chop it up, small pieces. Those limbs were our fire starter in the morning. And the dead logs that fell, maybe by lightning or maybe by the wind, and they were dry on the ground, those are the ones we use for the big the stove. We put them in the stove to heat up all night long. And so we had a huge log home where I grew up. And so we did chanyuchuga. Cha means wood. Yu is pull. Chuga is the cracking sound. That was the work. Chanyuchuga. Pulling the dry limbs. And then we had chachkachloka. Knocking holes in the ice. My grandpa had a bar. They call it a crowbar. I don't know why they say crow, but that's what they called it. And then they knock a hole in it, and we go a little ways in. So I had a little metal bar. Nowadays, what they call rebar. I had one too. I never did know why we were doing that. Because I was a little boy. I'm doing that too. And here, I found out when there's a 49 blizzard and all the snow was high, there's mounds here and there when we came out of our log home when the storm stopped. And there were mounds here and there, and on top were holes and steam was coming out. And my grandfather, he went with his hiking stick and a cow stood up. So they're probably hungry and tired, exhausted, fell down and didn't die. They're still breathing. That's why I see the little hole on that mountain of steam coming out. And Grandpa, they said, "Bueno, chala, old lady, manita, bring some water." He knew they needed water. And I was looking in an encyclopedia. We don't have encyclopedias anymore, do we? We have Google. Yeah, we have Google. Anyway, we could look for things, right? Well, I had to use an encyclopedia when I was a small boy. And it's a book that has everything in it. And I read about cattle and some animals. They can't lick snow quick enough to quench their thirst. They can't drink water by the snow. So they get tired and fall. And so I was thinking, no wonder why Grandpa always made holes in the ice. So that the animals who can't lick snow quick enough to keep alive, they have water. But I didn't know that when I was a small boy. And when Grandma and Grandpa passed away, and I ended up on a ranch, this couple took care of me. And there was ice on that big cattle tank. I looked, and I went and looked for a metal bar, and I went over there. I was knocking holes in the ice. And the boss came, our white boss, he came and says, "Jerry, what are you doing?" "Making a hole." They said, "Why?" I said, "You're supposed to. Because in the winter, you made holes in the ice." That's what I knew. But later on, I found out it's because some animals can't lick snow quick enough to quench their thirst. And I thought, no wonder why. They said that the Lakota were the caretakers of the earth. They were taking care of the animals by making water available for them. And I said, I wonder how those deer could stay alive when it's 50 below. Ice cold outside. I wonder how they stay warm. And this is just about a month ago. I Googled, how do deer stay warm in the ice cold weather? And doom. The deer, their fur inside has little air passages inside the fur. Like here's one fur, inside of his air. It's like insulation. If I have a whole bunch of them, it's like insulation. And their inner heat is what keeps them warm. So now I know something again. What I'm trying to say is, I'm 77 years old, but I'm still going to school on this wonderful earth, finding out new things all the time. I just get so happy when I find out something new, like I was a little boy. But if I was small, I was that way, and I'm still that way. That's one thing that didn't change in me, is I keep learning something new every day. Maybe I'll learn a new song. Maybe I'll make up a song. Way ya, 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 hey ya, ya, hey ya, way ya, way ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, that gave me goosebumps. Do you ever get goosebumps like you feel strange? Like, anyway, it made me feel strange. Past Creek singers, they were invited to France, Paris. So when they had a break from their presentations, they kind of toured around and they went up that Eiffel Tower. Anybody ever see Eiffel Tower?
Yeah.
Huh? If you didn't see it, Google it, right? Yeah. Yeah, Google it. Eiffel Tower. They climbed way up there. Kind of breezy, like, And Santi Witt is one of the singers. He's from Allen, South Dakota. Past Creek singers are from Allen. And so Santi, he was looking around. And a song came to him. This is that song I just sang. He calls it Songbird. Songbird. Past Creek singers. And when they came back from France, the first powwow they went to was in Porcupine, South Dakota, for the Labor Day powwow. That's the first time they sang it at a powwow. If there's a recorder, use it, right? Well, I clicked my recorder on Mawana. I stole her song. But I asked Santi, I said, if I ever sing this song, is it okay? I don't ask your permission. So now I could use it in my presentations because I asked permission. I said, can I use your song and tell about it? But sometimes things come to us instantly. Some things come to us mysteriously. It seems like our mysticism, our spirituality, how we are. You think you hear a sign, maybe you heard a howl, Grandma, heard of, oh, what's the sign of that, you know? Yeah. We always ask questions, so it's good to do that, because then you'll know. Okay. And so, we always find out things that you think are sacred. Yeah, when I was a little boy, I remember I told you I was an orphan. Then when somebody took me back to Porcupine, and I first met my real mom, never saw her before in my life. And there she is, Lavina Red Star. That was my real mom. But I was afraid to go to her. I was kind of like embarrassed, like, because I didn't know her. That's your mom. Oh, okay. I didn't know her. But I heard the old people, the grandmas talking about her. Lavina Wichinchalaham, when she was a girl, she was the fastest one at number 16 day school. That's Porcupine. It's a school. She was the fastest runner, even as track star. What's his name? If I remember, I'll say it. And he was the fastest runner. She even passed him up. And they had a contest. They made them race together, just those two. From the day school, about maybe 100 yards and then back. And my mom beat him in foot racing. I heard about that. So when I went to my mom's home, knocked on the door, she already had children. She was married already. But I wanted to meet her. Me and Grandma and Grandpa lived over there. So I went to my mom's house. This is probably the first time I ever talked to her. Knocked on the door. She came to the door. I said, Mom. She said, huh, Dokha. What's wrong? What do you need? Shall we have a foot race? I wanted to see if she was as fast as they said she was. Now, I was born when she was 14, and I'm about 7 years old now. So meaning she's only like 21 years old. She's still a girl. And I wanted to foot race her. See if I could beat her, because I was fast, my own self. La Manuza. And so I said, from here to the gate, we have a gate, we keep the cattle in. Anyway, from here to the gate and back. And she said, okay, Lala China, you want a head start? I said, no, yeah. I was gonna run with her and see if I could beat her. Because I heard the gossip that she was the fastest runner at the day school when she was a girl. So I don't know where I learned this, but I made a line. The line, okay. I don't know where I learned this, but I went, on your marks, get set, go! You started, hey, she took off, man. Hey, I got right there. She took off, got to the fence, ran by here. She was fast. So, she proved it. That's how I met my mom. By a foot race. Just to prove, to see if she was fast. You know, I think we're that way. We look for people's values. What makes them famous, you know? What made her famous is what I wanted to know. You know. So this is my first time back over there. So I asked them, you know, can I help you? Like they crush cherries, and sometimes they grind cherries, and then they dry them in the sun. There's a lot of activity going on, just doing that. Some of them, they go whooshby, plucking the cherries, so bucket loads. In Porcupine Valley, there's cherries all over on our land. You know, bring it back. They bring back plums, and they take the seed out, and then they crush them and dry them in the sun. Even the buffalo berries, they shake there's thorns on them. So you have to put a tarp underneath, shake the tree, and now fall down. Then you sort them. Then some of them, they have leaves on them. So you put them in a big tub, and the berries go down and the leaves stay up. That's how you sort the fruit from the leaves. So I'm learning all these skills of how they're doing things. You know, learning things the traditional way. When I was in Nebraska, I knew things about taking salt out to the pastures, you know, breaking hay, dropping them into the bins from the hay loft to the milk cows. Then I caked them. I get cattle cake, and then I put them in their bins, and I get that ready first before they even come back. Then I go out to the range, and then I go, hey, I was saying that, and then the lead cow would start coming back. It has a bell around its neck, cling, clang, cling, clang. All the other milk cows follow it. And inside the bins, they get into the same one each time. They know which one is their bin. They all line up. Then I go over to the end and I push shut so it locks them in. But they got all that good food down there to eat. And they're locked in because we don't want them to move, because my dad's gonna milk them. We milk the cattle. So we got pure milk. Then we have separators to make the cream. Then we get the milk that's left from the cream. Then we haul that to town, put them through a pasteurizer to take all the good things to stay and leave the not so usable things away. And some of those not usable, we still use them to make what? Cottage cheese. And the thicker butter, they give it to me in a glass, big bowl, and it has a crank on top, pinion gears, and then inside were paddles made out of wood. And I churn that, and those paddles go round and round and round that cream, and that's how we made our butter. So good. Pretty soon you can tell it's getting to be butter. And pretty soon it is butter. So that's what the ranch like. I did things you did on ranch, picking eggs, you know, come back to Edith, the farm woman. She takes the eggs. So I'm doing things like that. Then I scatter the chicken feed all over.